moving through. They are panicking to block it. Bob Chapman.
You're absolutely correct. And that bill is the nationalization of all banks, among a whole bunch of other things that we've had in the forecaster, and of course Alex has talked about. And they're doing everything possible not to let anybody know that there's such a bill. And of course Dodd is sold out, like his father sold out, and they just pay them off and they go on their way, and they live happily ever after, or at least they have up until now. And so many of these events, like I think part of the reason for the Goldman Sachs pursuance is not only the fact that they knew the suits were coming, lawsuits, but they also needed a distraction, and that was it.
Well, they're going after mid-level traders and saying they made a mistake, and I've seen Blankfein on TV saying, oh, we've learned from this, oh, we want this other re-regulation bill that even the Texas Banking Association says will allow the mega banks to selectively come in and take over healthy regional banks that are actually lending to the people.
Well, that's true. And, you know, there's 2,000 banks in the country that are being run by the comptroller of the currency.
Incredible. Okay, let's take two more calls. We're going to let Bob go quickly. Let's talk to, well, the list has gotten so long here. Who's up next, John? Steve in Illinois. You're on the air with Bob Chapman. Go ahead.
I am a strict follower of Messianic Judaism. I have fought this since 1980, locally and nationally. I nailed Dr. Bill Frist's re-election bid of late. You will watch terrible times and wonderful times are coming. They're going to take down the electrical power grid for this country, and you are going to witness divine intervention. You heard it here first, and I thank you very kindly for the time.
All right, appreciate your call. Let's talk to Ed in Minnesota. Any questions for Bob?
I think we should go back to the gold standard, actually have like coins with just a minuscule amount of real gold, banning it. And another thing is, I believe that the government is passing a lot of laws to make anybody a felon, whether it's DWI or whatever, just so they have the right to take away your arms.
Oh, there's no doubt. They're trying to pass bills right now without a judge, jury, charges. You just can't own guns if the FBI says so. And they're trying to pass bills where they can arrest U.S. citizens, and the Pentagon and Justice Department can secretly strip you of your citizenship, and you are never seen again. Bob Chapman, your take on that?
Absolutely correct, and that's where they're headed. And they're in the forefront along with England, and Australia's tagging right behind. And that's what they're going to do, or at least that's what they intend to do.
I mean, there's no doubt this is tyranny. Ed, I appreciate your call. I'm going through these quick to get financial questions and brokers and people, because this is the big issue. This really shows how rigged the markets are. And for those that just tuned in, it's admitted they've been rigged since 1987. Break that down briefly, Bob Chapman.
Well, it was the introduction of the Working Group in Financial Markets by Ronald Reagan under an executive order, and it was to keep order in plunging markets. And that's why it's called a plunge protection team euphemistically. And what they've done is they distorted the whole thing, and they're using it to rape everybody financially, and they manipulate markets 24 hours a day all over the world.
Wow, a casino that's rigged. I find that hard to believe. I'm joking. Real fast, Cliff in Kansas, you're on the air with Alex Jones and Bob Chapman. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I feel like this is that movie, It's a Wonderful Life. Potter isn't selling, Potter's buying. But, you know, I worry about, because me and my wife are going to try and refinance a new garage. Do you guys think should people go into getting more debt, or is that not a good thing?
I don't think it's a good thing. I think any money you can get a hold of, she should be taking advantage of Midas and going in there and buying gold and silver coins and forgetting about things that you don't have to do.
Well, another thing is, too, with this the financial crash going down, I mean, are they just going to start pulling people's mortgages, or what's going to happen with that?
You know, that's a good question, because I think ultimately there's going to be a multilateral devaluation of all currencies against one another, never mind gold, because they're all going down every day against gold. And I think there's going to be a debt settlement multinationally between nations.
Absolutely, and we've got to let you go, Bob. We've got to let the caller go. But, Bob, you'll be back with us next Friday for a full hour. You've given us an hour and 40 minutes today. And make sure next week to remind me, because Gerald Celente was saying the same thing, so is Max Kaiser, that they are planning, and you've got the evidence, for a global, coordinated devaluation of the currency. Bob Chapman, theinternationalforecaster.com. Thank you for spending so much time with us.
You're welcome, and thank you all for listening.
You bet. Okay, I'll come back in the final segment. They played a clip of some of our work on CNN and take a few calls, but I want to go out to break with the new Infowars.com trailer for the new film, Don't Tread on Me. It comes out in 1 week. You can pre-order it now. It exposes the truth of states' rights and the fraud of democracy and how we're going to take this country back. You can order it now. It's an incredible film to wake people up with a key solution to take America back. Here it is.
If the government we organize under the People's Constitution survives the next 20 years, it may go on forever.
George Washington said that government is not reason. Government is not eloquence. It is force. And like fire, is a dangerous servant and a fearful master.
In the last 20 years, we've seen an acceleration away from our Constitution and Bill of Rights and towards absolute despotism.
What have we got? A republic or a monarchy?
A republic. If you can keep it so. You have been warned. All men are created equal.
A pure democracy establishes majority rule with a minority overrun.
Yes, it does. On the other hand, our republic is based on a constitution which protects minority rights. And it's important, too, that in our republic, authority is surrounded by an ingenious system of checks and balances.
It is these freedoms that have made America strong.
Okay, so we got our freedom, but management's lousing up everything.
There are tough times on Main Street. Unemployment reached double digits and small businesses are struggling to stay alive.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste.
We kind of agree with Mao that political power comes largely from the barrel of a gun.
Hurry, step right up, folks. Here's the answer to your problems. Dr. Utopia's sensational new discovery isn't.
In Russia, they don't allow protest except for free speech zones. The United States has adopted that. In communist China, they only allow authorized demonstrations. We now have the same system here. And if you notice, our media doesn't criticize Russia's tyranny or China's oppression anymore because they would look like hypocrites if they did. Our government is doing everything that dictators do.
We're going to pay you to sell out your own citizens.
People in very high power places of power that are laughing at people who bring up the Constitution.
I don't worry about the Constitution on this, to be honest.
That's right.
Jackpot, brother.
Rights and privileges are opposites.
A privilege is something that's given to you by someone or some entity that has authority over and above you.
They are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
I am not your property. I am not a slave. And our Declaration of Independence was unique in history, where the people created a new government and constituted it to be a protector of their basic rights and freedoms. Not democracy, not mob rule, two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner.
So they think they own our land, they think they own our water, they think they own our children, our education, our money.
How many gallons of water we can have in our toilet.
Well, the theory is to challenge the Commerce Clause power of Congress with a 10th Amendment spin.
The main point of passing a resolution is we have to define who we are and what we will tolerate.
When it reaches the stage that you can look at what's going on and say, well, this is just a series of usurpations, abuses, which are leading inexorably to this result, then it is not simply one's right, it is your duty to take this kind of action.
And the question was, Mr. Bednarik, what is your position on mandatory vaccinations?
no, absolutely not. I will never take a mandatory vaccination.
And my answer to the question was, you bring the syringe, I'll bring my 45, and we'll see who makes a bigger hole.
Somebody's going to ask you what you did during the Patriot Uprising. They're going to ask you what you did during the years of 2010, 11, and 12.